On this episode of Ask an Artist, I'm joined by my friend Hugo Guerra. Hugo has worked in the VFX industry for a number of years and has had the pleasure of working at some really big studios. From high-level feature films to video game cinematics, Hugo has a long list of accomplishments. And Hugo's YouTube channel, Hugo's Desk, is widely regarded as one of the best places to learn about Nuke. As always, you can check out the show notes down below for everything discussed during this episode, and you can also find those show notes at actionvfx.com/podcast. So let's hop right into this episode. Hey everybody, Luke Thompson from ActionVFX. I'm joined today on this episode of Ask an Artist by Hugo Guerra. Good friend and all around just great human. Really excited to kind of dig into these topics that we're going to be discussing today because Hugo has a ton of experience when it comes to just working in the visual effects industry, the stresses of what that can sometimes entail. So I'm really excited to kind of unpack some of that together with Hugo. So Hugo, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me, Luke. It's always a pleasure talking to you and talking with you guys at ActionVFX. And I'm thrilled to have this chat. You know, I always enjoy having like conversations that are not the typical conversations we have in visual effects. And thank you so much. I'm really honored by being invited to this. You know, like I'm very humbled as well. Like you have a very, very amazing cast of people speaking on this podcast. So, you know, very humbled by the invitation. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Awesome. For sure, man. And hey, you deserve that spot right there with everyone else. You may not think so, but you're on that list for a reason, Hugo. So
thanks, man.
Let's dig into it. And just kind of hopping in with this question for this episode. Hugo, it's going to be, when did you decide to put artist empowerment at the core of your content? And I know that might not even be a conscious thing, but outside looking in, you know, your content very much speaks to self-care, taking care of artists, whether that's themselves or the environments that studios can facilitate. So yeah, I mean, feel free to take that question wherever you want.
When I saw the show notes, I was pretty blown away by that question actually, and it's a really great question. And absolutely, like you said, it was not planned, and I was not planning for my YouTube channel to have so much content like that. Kind of happened out of the blue, really, with a lot of podcasts being, you know, done and a lot of things. But I guess it's a difficult question for me. I guess it happened when I kind of left full-time production. You know, when I left the mill in 2015, I was really broken. You know, I would say that I was pretty much what people call burnout. You know, like I was pretty much burned out. You know, I was working weekends, late nights. You know, I did a lot of projects at the mill where I worked, you know, like 3 days in a row without sleeping. You know, I was really broken, and I don't know if you guys have that on the States, but in the UK, whenever you work extra hours, then you get those hours back, you know, and they call that lieu hours. You know, you basically get them back as vacation. And when I quit, I had like 2 months of extra days, you know, to take, you know, so I was still like being paid by the mill for 2 months, even though I left, you know, just to see the amount of work. So I think that it started there, you know. I also have friends that were burned out and had a lot of issues on that sense. At the time, I didn't thought I was burned out, but now looking back, I was, you know. So that's why I kind of talk about this. It started a bit on Twitch, you know, when people ask things, and I started talking about these things, you know, like working better and sleeping better and having a better life balance, and also trying to not be, you know, try to like move around from company to company so that you don't really get like broken by the companies. Not that the companies do this by, you know, they don't do it in purpose. They just, you know, they're just busy and they don't really look.
Yeah.
Their priorities are not really the self-care of the people. Their priorities are, of course, with the shareholders and the profit, which is fine. You know, it's a capitalist system. That's how it has to be. But I think that's why, you know, because I was so broken back then. You know, I had a lot of problems. I had like sciatica back problems. I had headaches. You know, I got really dizzy when I was walking the street. All those things were the combination of working like 6 years in a row without a break, you know, like that was why. Yeah. And also like optical nerve damage from working too much on a computer. So all those things really flared, like basically were alerts to me, you know, like and then I had friends of mine that had heart attacks, and I had another friend that had a nervous breakdown, and I really started to become very worried about these things. And I guess now Looking back, I have a much different life now, and I've been working remotely for 6 years. It's a bit of a different balance now, and so I try to tell these stories to as many people as I can. Either on my YouTube channel. But I do have one thing I must say. It's funny that you're saying, when did I decided to put that on the core of my content? I still don't think that's the core of my content. I still think I do a lot of new compositing. I still do a lot of workshops. I also still do a lot of showreel reviews. But I try my best to talk about other subjects that are important to the industry, that are not as glamorous as behind the scenes, But it's funny because that content that it's really dear to my heart, especially the last podcast I did about mental health and well-being. It is always the worst content I have on my channel. It's the one that has less views. It's the one that has more dislikes. And effectively, when I published the mental health panel on my YouTube channel, on that specific day, I lost like 100 subscribers, like immediately on that single day. So I had it's a bumpy ride when you start talking about these things. It is a really bumpy ride. Yeah. But I stick with my guns. I really won't stop talking about it. And I will always mix it up on my content because of the things that I've suffered in the past,
Yeah. And I think that speaks a lot to a lot of different things. But I think your recognition of that and trying to see how do we align to create better environments. So I really have a lot of respect for how you have framed your content. Because, yeah, you do nuke tutorials really well, really high level stuff, breakdowns. But I feel like there's such a level, even in those, of caring for people at its core. And that's something I've always really appreciated, because you can just feel that in your content. And I think that's why it resonates with your audience so well, is because, yeah, it's anyone can hustle and grind it out. It's working back to back 16-hour days, 18-hour days for 5 or 6 years. It's not a matter of hey, can we put in the work as people? It's, are we working as smart and as healthy as we can? And so I think you do a really great job of unpacking that, especially for a topic that is very, very touchy, as you said.
It is.
It's any big studio is not going to want to be associated with anything related to that
I know. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that you said that. I can't have that high level view of my channel because I can't see from the outside. Obviously it comes natural to me, and I didn't even really thought about that you could feel the care while I was doing a tutorial. I never really even thought about that, because I can't hear myself without hearing myself, But about the studios, I've lost a lot of work because of these things, for sure. I know that because I sometimes get mails and messages about that. But I have no regrets, I definitely think that if someone is not willing to work with me because I said something about mental health or because I said something about unions, it's probably for the best that I don't work with them anyway, So, for me, it's I've really changed my life. Before I was really aiming for only working on the top places, the mill, next, really going for it, getting all the awards and going to the Visual Effects Society. I was nominated 2 times and I was I never won, but tried really hard to do the grind, like you said, and really work hard and to go up in the industry. And I left the mill by my own thing. They didn't want me to leave. They wanted me to stay. And I was a VFX soup already there. And they already were talking to me about maybe becoming a creative director. I was already kind of growing in the company a lot. But I just paused and stopped because it was killing me. And I am much more happy now, although I don't do any fancy work. I still do fancy work, but only a few. I'm doing something really fancy at Rebellion right now, which I can't tell, but I'm doing something really, really fancy. But things have just changed. Before I used to work on 5, 6, 10 projects a year. It would have been an enormous amount of projects, and now I only do one at a time. Only one at a time. I've been working on this project. I'm directing a cinematic for Rebellion Games, and I've been doing it for 9 months now. And I haven't taken any other work, although the work has come in and has come out, but I just say, no, I'm busy. I can't do that job. And I've been doing that for a few years. Obviously, the problem with that is that the output is very slow. And I haven't launched anything. I haven't really published anything done by me or directed by me since 2018 because of that. Because in 2019 I was involved on a visual effects project for Sony PlayStations, which got canceled because of coronavirus. So that was a year that I lost. But now this year I'm working for Rebellion. So again, I'm doing one at a time. Not that I choose them; they come to me, but I just prefer not to be stressed out of my mind, with too many jobs. And my company is really small. I have a very small crew. We just do one job at a time. I'm not interested on trying to do 20 jobs to pay the bills. I'm not trying to do that anymore. I did that, and it didn't work out. It broke me. It also gave damage to my relationship as well. My wife didn't really enjoy it, the fact that I was never home, Mental health is a problem on that sense, and I just feel like I prefer to do less now and just to enjoy it at least. That's the thing. Obviously, a lot of people think that. I've been on Reddit forums where people say that I don't do anything because I don't want to do it or I don't have talent to do it. I've been on forums like that where people saying oh yeah, Hugo he would never even survive a day on production. And I read these posts and I kind of think to myself, well, you'll be there in 10 years, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So, but I'm not criticizing it. Everyone has to go through their path. I'm not telling anyone to do. I have a lot of friends of mine that have been there in production for 20 years and they're super happy. God bless them. I'm happy that they could do it. I couldn't do it. I physically couldn't do it. I guess I'm weaker, my mental state and my physical state and my eyes and my back. And I just couldn't stand. When I was at the mill as a supervisor and as a head of nuke, every day was a fire, every day was an emergency. Every day was a problem. I would come in the morning and there was a client upset with something, or there was an artist that didn't want to do something, or there was a shot that was broken, or they forgot to shot the HDR. So every day was a fire. And I felt like I was a fireman instead of a visual effects artist. I was just putting up fires. No one can live like this for 10 years, at that kind of stress level. And obviously a lot of people can do that. I know CEOs can do that, and I've met people that can live like that for decades. I just can't. I can't. I guess I'm weaker. I cannot sustain it. That's the thing.
No, I don't think weaker is a factor. But it's definitely. It's different if someone says, hey, I'm enjoying this, and this is a voluntary thing, if they're working overtime that's compensated or whatever. That, I think, is a very different conversation than I'm kind of forced or pigeonholed to only do this thing or only be with this company.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I still do long nights and I still do overtime. But the difference now, Luke, is that if I do a late night, because I do like to work during the night. If I work imagine I work at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm excited with the shot and I'm doing it and going for it till 4 o'clock in the morning. The difference now is that I'm not going to wake up at 9 the day after. I'm not going to just sleep 2 hours or 3. What I do is I go to bed and I set my timer for 8 hours and I sleep the 8 hours. And then I wake up at 12 in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've slept the hours I needed to do, and then I continue working. That is the thing. I still work late, and I still work too much. That's for sure. But I just sleep a lot more, and I rest a lot more, and I don't put my schedule. I don't fix my schedule around a 9 to 5. Like I had to at the mill. That is, I guess, the pleasure of working with your own company. It has its downside because obviously I can't really work on all the jobs possible. I can only work on certain jobs, but I just prefer to work when I want and be creative when I want, and I don't want to sound like a douchebag, but I like it this way, and also I don't want to sound ungrateful. I am so grateful that I'm on a position that I can actually do that, and I would never be on that position if I wouldn't been at the mill. I know that the mill was the one that opened those doors, and so I'm incredibly grateful for them and incredibly grateful for the work I did there. And the amount of contacts and the amount of experience I earned while I was there. But I felt like my 6 years there felt like 20, because of the intensity of them. I look back and I felt like I was there for decades. I wasn't, but that's how it felt because it was so much going on. So that's kind of how I'm sorry, I'm just like not shutting up. You need to get used to this. Look, I'm Portuguese, so I'm gonna talk a lot.
No, you're
so
good.
it's gonna
I like
be
it.
it's gonna happen.
No, you're great, man. So, kind of speaking to, if you're comfortable sharing that time period when you decided like, hey, I am going to leave, and here's my reasons why. Do you feel like people being artists, family, whoever, did you feel like people truly understood that transition and why you felt like you needed to make it, or was it kind of like, I'm the only one's feeling and seeing this way, so I feel kind of crazy?
I think I felt crazy, yes, and I think I felt people didn't understood that back then because they felt it was a huge mistake. Most people told me that it was like, oh, you shouldn't leave the mill. You're probably going to become a director there, and you're probably going to have a huge career there. And yeah, you need to understand, Luke. Like the mill was a big place for me because when I was younger, when I was a teenager, the mill was the place I wanted to work for. Like I had this dream when I was a teenager when I still had like my Video 8 cameras, and I thought like, oh, I really wanted to work either at ILM or at the mill. That was my favorite because I used to watch all these amazing music videos done by the mill and the Gladiator, and also like Chris Cunningham and Aphex Twin stuff, everything that they used to do at commercials at the mill in the 90s and the early 2000s. So I was like, oh man, I really want to work there. And at least I managed to get to work on one of them. I also could have worked at ILM. I've been offered, so I could have worked there, but I just chose not to. But back then, people really didn't understood, no. And especially because I moved to a world that was not as respected as it is now. Because the first job I did after I left the mill was I directed a game cinematic for Just Cause 3, which was called Firestarter. And that game cinematic, which was very successful, it had like 10 million views on YouTube. People didn't really understood why I went to video games, I went to video games because it was a different tempo. It's a much slower tempo. And also I love video games, so I was always a gamer. But I remember having this conversation. I never forget this. I'm not going to say who it was, but I was walking down on London, and I basically bumped into the head of production, one of the heads of production at the mill. And he turned to me and said, "Oh, hi, Hugo. I have been seeing on your Facebook. You do some games now, isn't it? Oh, yeah, that's fun. That's what's all that about the games? Yeah, the games. Yeah, it's like what, Sonic, Nintendo, or like what is that? Like people had no like some people have no understanding what video games is or even what the industry is. And this is like 2015, of course. But man. And then of course like things changed a lot. Like a few years later, the video games industry actually surpassed Hollywood, and I think that there was a lot of articles about that. Like people like, oh, what really? Like. And so I had a lot of fun there. I was working for a really small company called Fire.Smoke. I worked for them for 4 years as a cinematic director, and we did a bunch of trailers and a bunch of cinematics and a bunch of things there, which were low budget, but were really interesting, and I had completely creative control. That's what I wanted anyway. And I was doing it on my own time. I was doing them on remote. So, both Just Cause and Homefront, all those things were done with my own team remotely. And I think I felt like really happy back then because I felt like energized. I was doing something different. We were working remotely. No one worked remotely. This was like 5 years ago. Everyone would just look at me like, what do you mean remotely? And now, of course, no one cares. But back then it was like, oh, well, what about security? Like that was the first thing they would say. But I think that it was strange. People really thought it was a mistake. But I felt like, and a lot of people also think that I've left visual effects, because I'm working in games or something. So I haven't really changed anything I do. I still do exactly the same thing. I comp and I edit and I use the same tools as everyone, and I still do exactly the stuff I did at the mill. I was doing cinematics there as well. So I did do Call of Duty Ghosts there, and I did Body Count, and I did like Gran Turismo. I did a bunch of trailers while I was there as well. That was one of my favorite projects when I was there. But yeah, definitely it's funny to think about that people really thought it was a huge mistake. Oh, you're leaving the mill for like this startup called Fire.Smoke? Because it was a startup back then. So I don't regret it a bit. I'm so happy decisions I made, and now just jumping. I don't really have a plan. I'm just jumping from project to project, and I don't really know what I'm going to do after Rebellion. I'm doing this massive trailer for them, a full CG trailer. like a photo reel. It's a really nice trailer that the team at Rebellion is doing. They're amazing over there. So
That's awesome.
I'm directing it and editing it and grading it and involved on the comp a bit as well. And I don't know what I'm going to do next. I have no idea. I have no idea. Like once I finish and deliver that, it's going to be delivered and it's going to go to the public. It's going to be visible to the public in November. And I don't know. Like we'll see what happens after. I don't know.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think I can relate a lot too when it comes to the being in a position where you're making a life decision, career decision, whatever else, and everyone is just looking you in the face like, what are you doing? And then you're having hard, quote unquote, hard conversations where people are like, hey, I'm telling you this because I care about you, but you're making a terrible
I got those as
decision.
well. Yeah.
Like I had so many of those conversations when. And positionally, like if I recount the story from my perspective, obviously it's skewed. But I'm like, I was in the position where, hey, I was out of high school. I was homeschooled throughout, went straight into, I was already freelancing at this point for like production, videography type stuff. And it was the moment that I decided like, I'm not going to go to college. And so I was probably like already 2 months in at like a community college. And then it's like I had this realization where I was like, holy crap. 1, I have to pay for this. 2, if I finish this through, the closest thing I can get to like being a filmmaker is going to be like news production because there's no filmmaking community, whatever. So it was this realization of like this thing that I had really felt forced into. And so leaving that, I wish I could say I immediately went from that position to being able to, help get ActionVFX off the ground. But there were a couple months in there where it's like, just getting married as well, like being a newlywed, there was a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on, I know that this is the right thing. And I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. But yeah, it's like, I know without a doubt that this is the right thing.
But you felt it, right? You felt it. That's the thing. You felt it. Yeah. It's correct. Yeah. And it was, it was. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you think back now, ActionVFX is a huge success. I still remember I was one of your Kickstarters at the beginning. And I was,
Thank you.
I joined the campaign very early on, and I thought you guys were doing an incredible job there. And I look at it now. You guys are like the most famous stock footage website in the world, so congratulations, man. You
I don't
did
know about
it.
that, but
of course you are. Come on, man. In the visual effects industry, of course you are. In the visual effects industry, like, you are the top of the line. You are the only ones that you guys like started this thing of having red files and having like pro raw files and everything. No one
had. What have we done?
No one had that thing, like no one had that stuff. And so congratulations, man. And also, like, I this, like, most of my projects have something from ActionVFX on them, and I can't really work or comp without them. But yeah, I think you did good, man. You did amazing. But it is like really a feeling, isn't it? I had that feeling as well when I was doing it. But it's funny how people always find that life is mysterious, I guess. People really never really know exactly what you're going through and what you're having issues with, and that was the difficult part for me, people like leaving me and people like not really talking more with me, or people like really not understanding what I was up to, or even like asking me weird stuff like, oh, so do you even comp anymore? And I'm like, yeah, man, I've comped every project I've done so far. Like, I comp more now than at the mill because I had so many meetings, so it's funny how people see what you are, and of course, now with Hugo's Desk, I'm kind of like, oh, you're the YouTuber. That's how they see me. Like, I guess I passed from used to be known as the head of Nuke at the mill, and now I'm known as the YouTuber, that does VFX.
The Nuke guy.
Yeah, the Nuke guy, exactly. It's funny you say that. I just did a podcast last week with Ian from Before and Afters, and he invited me to do the podcast about the first Nuke composite, and I was like, oh, damn it. I'm the Nuke guy. I'm still the Nuke guy. I don't want to be the Nuke guy.
That's hilarious.
I want to be like, I'm joking, man. I love doing that podcast. I'm really joking. I thought it was wonderful. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm never going to... I had this problem as well in Portugal. When I was in Portugal, I was very famous for one thing that none of you guys know. When I was at university, I did a film, a really low-budget film, which was shot with a really crappy Video 8 camera. I was 18 years old, and it was the first ninja film of Portugal, And it's like a really shitty film we shot, inspired by American Ninja and all those crappy ninja films that used to happen in the 80s. And that film became... This was before the internet, so it became viral, It was even broadcasted on TV. And so
nice.
If I'm in Portugal, I'm the ninja guy. I'm not the nuke guy, like people know me for the ninja guy. And they're always asking me, when is the sequel coming out? And I always say never. It's never going to come out.
That's awesome. You should just like drop it one day, or like do a like a fake trailer.
Oh, I'm
just circulates in
Portuguese.
I
am trying. It is in Portuguese, of course, but I have thought many times. There's a DVD even. We actually sold it as a DVD with the commentary, with the making of and everything. It's in Portugal. I mean, but that film, I'm planning to put subtitles and put it on YouTube, but I'm too busy. I don't know. Like it's so bad. You don't want to watch it, man.
Just do that in your free time.
You don't want to watch it, man.
In your free time.
Remember, like this was done back in the day where I did it by I used professional equipment, but I did it from VCR to VCR. It was edited VCR to VCR. It wasn't even like with a computer. So this is like
and like in camera. Start. Yeah. That's all the.
I was 18. I didn't know shit. I didn't know anything. So,
but that's the first step of that's the stepping stone of being curious enough to delve down that path and push into it. Of hey, I'm kind of figuring this thing out. But man, especially as technology has increased, so is the accessibility, and I mean that more than anybody. Working remote before the pandemic in 2020, you're just in your face everyone.
I was so ready for this. I had an entire pipeline ready, but now of course it's nothing, because it's just another pipeline. But yeah, I was ready, but anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, so our producer of the show, Ryan Shipley, actually just sent me a link to the trailer for your ninja film. That was very quick.
The film is not online though, because a lot of people try to put it online on YouTube, and then I always do a strike on YouTube because I don't want it to be on YouTube until I kind of want to put it on YouTube, So but the trailer is out. Yes, it's a really, really crappy movie. I can tell you that, but it's a comedy. It's like a really crappy movie on purpose, and it was just done by a bunch of people that were 18 years old. It was my project for the first year at university. We had to do a project. The project had to be the theme of the project was landscape, and because I was in painting, I was an art major, so I was in arts, and so the theme of the project had to be something to do with landscape, and so I did this entire ninja film on landscapes. It was outside, so it was a very conceptual thing, but it worked out.
Yeah. So it was like a film thesis, almost just your final project as a class. Or
well, yeah, it was. But then the film had a life of its own, because then the film went to TV, and then it's like an hour long, and then of course everyone just started sharing these bootleg VHS tapes of the film, and
yeah, that's how you've made it. When people are stealing your stuff every now and then, somebody, one of our users or something, will be like, "Hey, your stuff's being pirated over here," and I'm like, good luck. That's 900 gigabytes. So joke's on them because nobody's doing that. Awesome. So Hugo, kind of digging back in a little bit to if there's an artist right now that is maybe sitting in that seat, unsure of the decisions as far as moving forward, kind of where do they go from there, but maybe they've been experiencing high levels of anxiety, depression, whatever. If somebody's finding themselves in that position right now, what are some things that you would say to them as far as encouragement, paths forward, anything?
Yeah,
like that?
I think that get ready for this to be the podcast with less views that you have. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Bring it on.
I think if you are in that position, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling with the depression and anxiety at your workplace, or even before you start working, if you're working in a place already and you're having those things, I think it's time for you to either have a conversation with management about maybe making different decisions to make you more comfortable on the job, Or maybe if that's not the case, because sometimes, like I said, companies don't do it in purpose. They're just too busy. And of course, especially in a place like London, there's always other people that want to work. So they are very fast at dropping you and getting someone else. So. But if you're in a situation like that, I really would recommend you to leave the company and kind of like, and try to move to another company. Maybe talk with people in LinkedIn, maybe talk with other friends, and see if you can find a more relaxing place, a place that is maybe a bit less high tempo. Maybe do a sting on a smaller company that probably wouldn't need so much effort from you. Like if you give an example, like if you go from a highly high tempo, high end commercials place, maybe to an architectural place, or maybe to an animation place, or like try to move around to different places that maybe have a better tempo, or maybe even consider doing something else for a while just to rest up. I think that's the first thing that you should really, because if you're feeling those things while you're working, there's definitely something wrong. That means that the job is really not fulfilling and it's not working. And I know this is difficult because people have to pay the bills, they have to work, but I really know it's difficult. But on this business, if you're good at your job, you are very likely be able to find a job very easily. Even when you're not that good, even if you're just like mid-level, you still can find a job easily because there's so much work. So I think that would be my biggest advice to everyone starting now, and I starting and also working in the industry right now. Just look at your signs. If you're feeling too tired, if you see that you're having some physical problems, if you have headaches, if you have those kind of things, there's something up, and you need to kind of like address it before it's too late. Like, I know people when they're young, they think they're indestructible, but they're not, that's the thing. Like, they're not. And things will come back to haunt you. And obviously I'm more talking about physical. Obviously, some people have depression in general, and they can't avoid it even if they're in a really good place. But maybe then talk with your company and see if you can maybe manage to have a part-time job, or maybe have a few days off, or maybe have a certain schedule that might work, or maybe get put on jobs that are not so stressful. There's always ways around it, and you can kind of like follow your body, and see where you go. That would be my advice.
I think that's some really good advice. A lot of really good insight there as well. And I think we're seeing a trend, hopefully, this is me being optimistic, of some newer, smaller studios that are really, really pushing the bounds when it comes to what is, because obviously it's a business, as you said, like the business has to make money. They do that by being able to crank out shots, production line, it's like trying to balance all that tension. But I think we're seeing a couple smaller like boutique studios that are coming out that are really, and I hate that it's just now feeling like pioneering this new thing of like, hey, people need to be healthy and we need to take care of people. But I think we're seeing that as kind of a growing thing, especially coming out of the pandemic last year and having more people work remote. The landscape of work has changed in general, but a lot of people, I think, have that more at the top of mind than they did in the past. So I'm very hopeful that even these smaller studios will pick up and start pushing that it would hopefully kind of force the hand of some other organizations to be able to say, hey, we also need to kind of get in line and do the same as far as just caring about our people. It's like if they're viewed as cogs in a machine that can just be burnt out and replaced, then I think that's a wrong way of viewing team members and being able to invest in people. But unfortunately, that's the reality.
Well,
that
I guess
some people
it's
have.
a bit similar to what's happening in the games industry as well, where you have a lot of senior people leaving huge studios like Ubisoft and those kind of places, and actually building smaller teams and making smaller games because of these issues. Because of having like one more time with family or wanting a more relaxed environment, and I think the problem lies really on most of these big studios, both in visual effects and games. They are not owned by people from visual effects or games anymore. And I think that makes a huge difference. Most of these companies are being managed by either banking or insurance companies, or being managed by managing companies, like just being managed by businessmen, that have no understanding of the business. They have no understanding of visual effects. They have no understanding of gaming. They just have understanding to win money, to earn money. And don't get me wrong. Everyone should earn money, and everyone should earn as much money as they can. But I do think that lately, especially in the games industry and also in the visual effects industry, there have been a lot of things happening that are just for the benefit of the shareholders and no one else. And I feel like we should be able to get some kind of balance between those two things, because I understand it's a business, but also you can't like push out so much talent because of this. You have to also make a good environment. There's companies that manage to do this, like if you look at Google and Apple, and these companies did, they managed to treat their employees well, and people love working there, and they don't really have issues working there. It's possible. Even in visual effects, I've heard so many good things from Cinecide, for example. I have so many good things from ILM. Like, there are companies that are really good, and they actually take the effort and manage to get it to work. But I just feel like the smaller, it's funny, because we started with smaller boutiques and smaller studios, and then we went to really huge places with thousands of people. Now we're kind of going back to the studios, boutiques again. I love it that way. I really like small studios. I like working with few people. I prefer to work with few people for longer than just having a lot of people for just a short amount of time. I really hate working on the conditions where we have 20 people coming in. They're all freelancers. No one knows what's happening, and then we're just brute forcing a job. I just prefer to spend with 3 people doing the job for 6 months. I think it's a much better environment and a better way to work.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So, man, yeah, great insight. Thank you so much for kind of being willing to dig into these harder, more uncomfortable conversations. I think it's really important. And like us at ActionVFX, we really hold high artists, and we try to continue to, at the end of the day, our products help them deliver faster and will hopefully elevate that end result quality as well. So you're not having to sacrifice, I'm losing time and this asset sucks, so I'm at a big disadvantage. It's we're trying to build stuff that definitely has the artists in mind, but I think there's so much that goes into that, because it's not just products, it's an ideology. So thank you very much for just being willing to kind of hop in on these subjects, because as you said, nobody likes to touch them, nobody likes to talk about it. But when we see a result,
they like the fancy stuff, They like the shiny things. This is one of the biggest
AI and machine learning.
Yeah, because the industry is so used to the shiny things, That's the thing. It and stuff like this happens all the time. People get swooped by that shiny stuff. Oh, it's a Marvel movie. Oh, it's a Star Wars movie. And the companies do take advantage of that, and they do kind of use that to leverage, even to lower. They lower the salaries.
Do you want to be a part of something or not?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the ultimatum. It's bad.
I'll never forget, being on an interview for a film company where, I just came back from being head of compositing at the mill, and being told by the recruitment person that was younger than me, saying, oh, but this is a film company, and obviously we can't have you with the same position. You're gonna have to drop one position down to get into the company, blah 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 blah. And I was responding to them, yeah, okay, I understand that, but I am still gonna be doing the same thing as I was doing on the other company, I'm gonna open Nuke and do compositing. I'll just have more time to do the compositing because I'm on film.
Yeah.
So if anything, it will get better, So I didn't stay there, but I feel like we do have this mentality of, I don't know, I guess people, I've been there as well. I thought that I was going to be a filmmaker, and then I went to visual effects to be a filmmaker, and then I discovered that that's not where you do filmmaking, because the filmmaking happens before. And that's why I've shifted to try to direct as much as I can and try to be on set as much as I can, because that's where I have fun, and that's where you actually create something. When you're in visual effects, you're already too late. It's already all created. It's all done already. So yeah, there's a lot of creativity, but I don't like to be on the end of the spectrum. Like I prefer to be on the beginning of it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So kind of transitioning and just as we start to wrap up here, you mentioned a couple projects you've kind of got in the pipeline. Is there anything else you can talk about that you've got coming up? Maybe, I know, and you've still been keeping your Kickstarter courses rolling and all of that, like educational content.
Yes. My course is still up and running, Kickstarter that started in 2018. And we had 3 funding Kickstarters, and now it's finished, the course. So now it's for sale on Patreon. Nice. I'm still finishing and wrapping up some classes for my older students, but for the new students, the course is done. It was a massive undertaking, It's like it's like 75 hours long, and it's 150 classes, and it has like half a terabyte of footage to go with it.
Yep.
So it was by far the most complicated thing I've ever done in my life, and I will never ever do it again. Like it was too much work.
I love the honesty.
It was
it's like this
is going to be the last new course I'm ever going to do. Like I'm not going to do any anymore. This was just stupid. It was stupid of my part. Like if you think about it, like. Yeah, I thought when I first did the Kickstarter, I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be like maybe 50 classes and maybe like 20 hours. And then I got excited and I got excited and I got excited. It became bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why and then it got really delayed because of that. And that's my fault. I got super delayed. People got they're still getting classes now and they bought it like 2 years ago. It's all to blame on me. Just because I made it bigger and bigger and bigger, and I
mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, but it's a mistake. I shouldn't have never done. I should have just listened to other people saying just do a course of 5 hours or 6 and then put that up. But anyway, I have 500 students, and I still get messages most of the days of people saying that it's. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but most people give me feedback saying it's the best course they've ever done. So I'm very happy to hear that from them. Mm-hmm. Most people really love it. They think it's a really good course and it works really well for them. But it's too much work, and but that's going. Yes, you're asking about the things in pipeline. So unfortunately, I had a huge project that got canceled from Sony PlayStation. That was my life for almost a year last year. That project will never see light of day. I was on San Diego filming for several months there. That will never come back. I've just been involved on a project for a company. I can't really talk about it, but yeah, I've just been on set for a big collection of 6 commercials. So that's on the pipe right now. But I was only supervising. I'm not doing the visual effects. I was only on set, but I will come out in that next month. And then I have this big trailer that I'm directing for Rebellion Games. Can't tell you which game it is. But yeah, that's the only things I have on the pipe. Right now, I'm at a crossroad, Luke, because I'm kind of considering, should I continue doing these things, or should I focus on my short films? Because I still have my short film, my horror short film I filmed in 2017, which isn't very good, but I really want to finish it, I really want to finish it. I shot it with my students, so it's very amateurish, but I really like it personally, so I want to finish that. And I'm starting to think, I'm on a crossroad, should I continue working for companies like Rebellion and like other places, or should I just focus on my short films? I know they're really much low budget, but focus on my short films and then you make content and tutorials around those, Maybe I should just give it a go on YouTube full time, because I've never done that. YouTube has always been my part-time job. I've never really, you see my channel. I'm completely devoted. I have no schedule whatsoever. I publish a video, and then maybe 3 months later I publish another, and then maybe I publish 3 in a row, and then I publish another one next month, and then there's no it's chaos. It's like a garbage truck on fire. But it's fine, because I'm not.
I love your garbage truck.
Because I'm not really doing it full time, because I can't. YouTube doesn't pay enough for me to do it in full time, and Patreon doesn't pay enough. If I'm lucky, I maybe get $500 a month from all of my Patreon, YouTube, Twitch all together. And obviously no one can live for £500 a month. So my YouTube channel, I've always been thinking about, like, should I go full on? Maybe I can get it bigger. Maybe it will work. Maybe not. So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to do full time on the YouTube and just do a bunch of short films and feed the YouTube channel with my short films, So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I'm saying all these things, and then what's going to happen. Some company contacts me. Oh, you want to direct this? Oh, yeah, sure. And then another year passes, So
yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'm more than confident that, like, whatever you decide to do, you're absolutely just going to crush it, because I know you come to play. And so whether that's on YouTube or wherever else, like, you're going to push it to be as best as it can
I'll
be.
I'll try my best.
And it's going to be good, man. That's awesome. All right, Hugo, again, wrapping up, where can listeners, viewers find you?
Okay, cool. So, it's pretty simple. Just go and put Hugo's Desk on Google. You'll find Hugo's Desk on YouTube, so Hugo's Desk YouTube/Hugo's Desk, and then you have Hugo's Desk on Twitter, and then you have Hugo's Desk on Instagram, and you have Hugo's Desk on Twitch as well. I obviously have my Twitter, which is Hugo Guerra. That's my main Twitter account, because I didn't have Hugo's Desk back then. But that's where you find me. Most of the time, you'll find me at least once a month on Twitch, doing reviews and showreel reviews. If you guys want to review a showreel, go for it.
I love the live. Hugo will break down, like, live demos, and have people bring their own reels, and then
and now people
home crying.
Now people come actually to the show on audio. I'm really forcing people to come in, so it's almost like a radio show. I have guests, So every time I do a Twitch stream, I have at least 3 or 4 people coming into the show, and then we review the show reel together, and I give them a really high-end, high-level review that you won't even get on a daily, because on a daily it's like 10 minutes. I'm getting like 45 minutes, like zooming in 800% and things like that. So I do that on Twitch. Then on YouTube, I have my occasional live streams, most of the time with the Foundry or BenQ, or with you guys, like we did just a few weeks ago with the racetrack. So I do those streams as well. So on YouTube, I'm more focused on sponsored streams, and then on Twitch is more relaxed streams with showreel. And then occasionally I put a video out. I guess occasionally I put a video out. I love it. This is a joke, right? I have a list of like at least 30 videos, and I have on my hard drive, I have at least 6 videos completely started, but I've never finished them. I'm terrible at this, I'm just like, I'm terrible. I just never finish anything. So I'll try. They'll be finished. I can guarantee you.
Yeah,
they'll be finished. But I'll.
It takes time. I mean, it's a lot of stuff.
Oh, it takes me.
And it's not like
takes me weeks to make a video.
Busy.
It takes me weeks to make a video, man. Weeks. Like my last review, the BenQ review of the monitor that I did for BenQ, like that was like a month of work. People don't realize how long it takes to do it, and then I put it on YouTube. I have like 4,000 views or something, and got like $10 from it. Great, excellent.
And you get five dislikes before the video even airs.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm glad I spent a month on that to get $10. I'm glad.
That's awesome, man. Well, Hugo, again, thank you so much for being open and just willing to dig into these tougher issues. Specifically when it comes to taking care of artists and people around us, trying to push people in healthy capacities and make sure that people are good so that they can be their best, and just really bring it creatively.
And I must say, I know you're wrapping up. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have a lot of people that contact me privately in LinkedIn talking about really horror stories that they have in the industry. I just want to say to everyone, my channel is open. My LinkedIn is open. If you want to talk, if you want to share anything, just go for it. Just contact me. None of that will ever come to public. I'm just saying that if you want to talk with someone that suffered as well and someone that went through the same things you are going through, I'm happy to discuss and to talk with you and give you a friendly hug through the internet, So just contact me, a lot of people do that. And I will never break their confidence. I will never talk about their stories live unless they tell me they want to talk about them live, Mm-hmm. But my LinkedIn is open, guys, So if anyone, guys or girls, if you guys want to talk, I'm there, man, and I'll try my best to advise and to try my best to support as much as I can, And because this is the only way we're going to get somewhere is if we help each other, you know, like otherwise nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep, man, I definitely appreciate you saying that. Again, it's just reinforcing things I've already said in your intro of like, you're genuinely such a good person and you care about people. So I think that's why you might not consider yourself, but I'm like, nah, Hugo's definitely a subject matter expert when it comes to this topic.
Thanks for saying that, Luke.
Thank you so much for joining us, Hugo, and we'll definitely have to do this again.
Yep.
But until next time, this is Ask an Artist.
Bye.